So good afternoon. We are a group of protest artists. We are trying to promote protest art, and we wanted to talk to you and see a bit of your opinions on the matter.
Sure.
If you could introduce yourself and let us know who you are.
Sure. My name is Sandu. I'm the curator here at Home Arts and House and Gallery in Kitchener.
Okay. So first, we're just going to start with. So it's our perspective that graffiti art opened up a public dialogue of private and personal emotions regarding the political and social repercussions that was brought on by the construction of the Berlin Wall. How do you feel this expression through art changed the society around it at that time?
Yeah, I have very strong feelings about the Berlin Wall.
Mm-hmm.
I had the unluck to be born on the wrong side of the wall in Eastern Europe,
Mm-hmm.
so I know a lot about this thing, and I have very strong feelings about it. To me, first of all, it's not graffiti, what's on the Berlin Wall. It's real art, it's protest art, as opposed to this graffiti that you can see here and now on bridges and doors and whatever. That's a very strong art, and Germany was a divided country after the Second World War. It was divided geographically because it was split between Allied, the Democratic Republic of Germany was in the Soviet zone, and then Western Germany was the American, French, and British zone. Then it was divided socially. It was in two separate systems, capitalism and communism. And then it was divided even through families, because there are people having family on both sides of the border. So this is more than a wall who divided, two systems. It divided a country and its population and its families, which is, it's a hard thing to understand, but it happened. So the art on the wall, it was very strong, and many people don't know, but this was done only on the western part of the wall, because the eastern couldn't touch the wall. It were fences before that. You couldn't get to the wall and paint on the wall. The eastern part of the wall was just bleak white.
Wow.
Only the western part of the wall was painted, because the Western society had access to that, so they could touch the wall and see up the wall, but not on the eastern part. So this tells the story of division. I mean, it's the free world as opposed to the communist bloc.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a very strong feeling for me, and it's a very strong symbol for what the division in Europe meant for both parties, for the Western world and the Eastern world as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what side were you mentioned before?
I was born in Romania in the Eastern Bloc.
Okay.
So
Okay.
the wrong
So
side.
where the wrong side.
No, I wasn't born in Germany. I was born in Romania, but Romania was part of the Eastern Bloc.
That's right.
So
Okay.
that's the wrong side of the wall.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So obviously you know a little bit about the Berlin Wall.
I do know a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We were wondering, was symbolism something that was prominent in the art, or if you knew?
There were lots of symbols embedded in the Berlin Wall art. There were things like very random, but they all have a meaning.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there were like Picasso's bulls reproduced on the Berlin Wall. As we know, Picasso was a guy who fought against the war. So this tells a story about people getting sick and tired of this tension between those two countries divided by the wall. There are stories about kings and queens. There are stories about I have a list here. Take a look. There are pogo hats. There are Statue of Liberty images, love messages, bees and flowers, Christmas scenes, freedom slogans, kings and queens. So, and all are telling a story about people wanting to get together, to be free, to communicate, to to dream about stuff they couldn't touch. So that's the most important thing. And also on the western part, we have a whole fence full of crosses of people who couldn't make it. They tried to jump over the wall, and they were killed by the East German guards. So there's a lot of crosses there. Some of them have names on them, some of them don't, because that guy just jumped over the wall and he was killed with no ID on him. So it's just a simple crossing on the constant means unidentified. So
Wow.
it's more than just art.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So many other implications
It's right,
goes along
yes.
with it.
Yeah.
Quick question about the eastern side with the white. You mentioned it's white.
Yeah.
Did people try and produce art on that side, or it was just out of the question?
They weren't allowed to touch that. So the wall was built between the eastern Berlin and the West Berlin. People in West Berlin could touch that. There was an alley along that, so they could go there and touch it. It was sort of free world. But on the eastern side of it, there was a fence, like a wire fence built, and some parts it was an electric fence, so they couldn't touch that.
Wow.
And it was a piece of land which was plowed. So there were tower guards in the middle of that, so they could see whoever was trying to jump over the wire fence, walk through that, and then jump over the Berlin Wall per se. So there's more than one wall in the eastern part. It was well guarded with military troops, with police, with guns, with whatever, cameras, and
Wow.
So they couldn't touch that. Touching the wall means it was an inch from the Liberty, so they could jump over the wall. But many of them couldn't make it.
Okay.
Hence the crosses.
So what do you think the impression on the art world in the protest art specifically? What was its impression on the art world and the protest art specifically? And do you think it trickled a sort of ripple effect? So by that I mean, so after the Berlin Wall and the art surrounding that, do you think that protest art after that was used more, I guess it was something that had more power after that because of the destruction of the Berlin Wall after that?
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah.
Start us talking about the beginning. I think this was the beginning of the protest art. To me. It's a protest art protesting against real things. I mean, from division between families, division of a country, division of two social systems. So it's a real thing, and it's a very deep thing. Because I'm not protesting against very futile things. This was a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then starting and it did produce a ripple effect, because there are messages on that wall from people from Lithuania, from Latvia, from Estonia. People who traveled to Western Germany, and they put their mark on the wall saying just free Lithuania, because they wanted to be free. It was inspired by that art, it was inspired by the symbolism of it, so people just express themselves, say, okay, out with the Soviet troops from Lithuania. So it's a very strong message, right? People from Poland traveling there saying the same thing, out with the Soviets from our country. Eastern Germans saying the same thing, out with the Soviets from our country. So it did produce a ripple effect. And when the wall fell down on November 9th, 1989, it did continue this legacy. I mean, with the falling of the wall, this didn't stop. People continued to protest. People collected these pieces of art. When the wall was destroyed, they just collected pieces of the wall, with paint on them, with artwork on them, just simple rocks that meant a lot for them,
Wow.
or bricks, or pieces of concrete.
All right, that's really great. You've covered everything that we wanted to talk about. It's great. And if you have any other comments or anything that you wanted to talk about, you can feel free.
Yeah, this is just a reminder of the division between people. And let's not build ourselves a wall between our world and other worlds. Let's be honest with us. Let's be honest with everybody else, and let us encourage people to come, see, meet, greet, and befriend. Because that was a very dark episode in the European history. Most people don't care about it. Most people don't understand it. Most people don't have any knowledge about it. But there were a lot of people dying, trying to jump over that wall because they wanted to see their family or to be together with their family in the western part. It's also meant the division, the artificial division of Germany, which is now back. I mean, why did you do that? It's just a waste of, resources, money, lives, and time, right? Because you cannot turn back time.
Mhm.
And yeah, let's remember about this and don't build a wall around yourselves. Because people may write things on it.
Mhm.
You won't like that.
That's right. Well, thank you so
You're very
much.
welcome.
This has given us a lot to think about
Okay.
and to discuss. So thank
Yeah,
you so much.
you're very welcome.
Thanks for your time.
No problem.